Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA up-and-comer Rachael Cummins. Rachael, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Rachael, you got a fight coming up October 25th at Bama, USA, Bad Beat 11. Before we get to that fight, let's go back in time. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to before you started training mixed martial arts. You were a volleyball player, you were a basketball player, you were very athletic growing up. Just curious, why did you decide to get into MMA?
Well, after college volleyball, you kind of have to be. I played indoors, so you kind of have to be a little younger, when you play indoor pro volleyball. So there, if I wanted to do beach, I could have done it, but I kind of just, got burnt out. I played for 20 years, and I kind of just looked for like another outlet, and I started doing jiu-jitsu. And I had no idea that I would ever do MMA. But I did my first jiu-jitsu tournament actually of just 2 days of training, which my coaches thought I was crazy.
Right.
And I wound up getting second place, so then I just kept competing every single month. And eventually I just started hitting some pads and started doing amateur fights, probably 6 months later.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the 2 days of training and then wanting to do a tournament. That was going to be my next question about this tournament. What was the dialogue between you and your coaches about getting into a tournament? Because, like you said, you had basically no experience. You just wanted to do it right off the bat. So, how did that all come together? How were you able to convince your coaches to allow you to be in a tournament?
Well, actually, when I walked in the range training center, I was really nervous because it was only guys, and I looked at, one of the guys that was an assistant coach, and I was like, hey, there's a tournament this weekend, and I really want to compete in it. And he's just like, are you crazy? This is your first day. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to train all week, and then I'm gonna compete in the tournament. And he's like, well, who's going to coach you? And I'm just like, I'm like, I think I'll be fine. And he just thought I was crazy. He didn't believe me at all. And I, sure enough, I did it that Saturday, and I had no coach. I actually had my drunk cousin, who was actually my coach. And he, I had no idea about, having coaches. I had no idea about it at all, but I was just, so amped on competing that, I got the wristbands, I remember, from my corners, for my cousin and, my brother, and I just competed, and I wound up getting second place. I wound up watching YouTube videos the night before, and just practicing on my cousin. I made him wear a gi, and then I was just practicing some moves just to get some points, and I wound up working out okay, I guess.
Now, you took second in that tournament. When you got back to Range Training Center, what was the reaction that you got from those people who probably thought that you were going to get smashed going into that tournament with no experience?
Oh, they just knew that I was down, and that, I was real, and that I really, really wanted this. Because, I don't think anybody competes after just training 2 days.
Right. Now, how long, how many jiu-jitsu tournaments did you participate in until you started to train mixed martial arts? What was the timeline from when you did that tournament 2 days into your training to when you decided, hey, I want to do mixed martial arts?
I want to say I probably did about 7 or 8 tournaments. Like I said, I did the tournament 2 days, and then I went and competed in Best of the West 2.5 weeks later. And then I went all the way to Vegas for Grappler's Quest and competed in almost 2 months of just training. And I went all the way out there. I competed in gi and no gi, and I wound up getting first and second there. So I just kept training every single day from then on. From that 2 days that I first started, I was in the gym every day training jiu-jitsu.
So basically the original plan when you started training was to be a competitor. You never had that time where you just I just want to stay in shape, I just want to do this, I want to do that. It was always the minute you hit the mat, you wanted to do this?
Well, honestly, I had heard about Kyra Gracie, and I was like, oh, she's a really cute girl. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to have a goal, and my goal is going to be I want to compete against Kyra Gracie, and I want to beat her. That was my goal. And I didn't know that much about her, but I just saw that she was a cuter girl, and I was just like, oh, that's what I want to do, and that's the goal that I set. I set a really high goal for myself, and then I wound up doing MMA after. But yeah, I didn't want to get punched in the face, and I didn't want to do any MMA before at all.
When you transitioned to mixed martial arts, why? What pushed you towards going that way? Was it just you were having some success in the grappling side of things, and since you work out at an MMA gym, you were seeing all this stuff, and you just wanted to try it, or was it a coach who maybe pushed you to it? How did that come together?
Yeah, actually, I would think one of the coaches there that he used to coach there. He was a kids coach there, and he saw that I had a lot of potential. His name was Luke Adams, and he used to coach the kids there, and he just saw that I was really athletic, and he was like, "Hey, you should start hitting pads." And I was like, "No, I don't want to hit pads." And I was super stiff. I hit it like I was hitting a volleyball, and I was just trying to hit it super hard, and it was really slow, and it literally, everything was overhand right because I was an outside hitter in volleyball, so it was real awkward at first, but yeah, then I wound up getting a hang of it, and I liked it.
How much did you know about the sport before you started actually doing the training?
I honestly, I remember that I had no idea, actually, but I just remember I was when I was younger, I would go to those UFC parties my friends would have, and they'd have the UFC fights, but, I wasn't paying attention. I'd be going there just to go to the barbecue and have a couple drinks, and had no clue what was going on the TV.
Definitely. Now, your BJJ career began, 2 days into the training. When you transitioned to mixed martial arts, how long did it take for you before you decided that, hey, I want to take a fight? Give us a timeline from when you started, doing all the pad work and putting everything together to your first amateur fight.
I probably want to say I trained about 6 months of jiu-jitsu, and then I probably only hit pads for maybe 2 months, and I did a little bit of sparring. I didn't really do much, and I knew a double leg. I just knew some simple stuff, and they said that they're going to have an amateur at the Commerce Casino for Bama, which I'm actually going to be fighting for this fight. And I was like, oh, I could do this, and they found an opponent for me, and I was like, oh, I can do this. I could beat her. I'm just going to attack her and just go for it. And, I was just down, to be honest.
Right. Now, what did your parents say when you told them you wanted to be a fighter?
Oh, my dad was really excited. He was my basketball coach for club my whole life, so he's always been real competitive, and he's always known me, they've gone to every single event I've ever done. They even, when I coach boys volleyball, they would also even watch that, so they're very into it. And my mom gets super nervous, obviously, but my dad and my mom, they're very, very supportive.
How would you describe your fighting style to someone who has, possibly never seen you fight before? If someone, just comes to this fight, I guess, on October 25th and sees you for the first time and doesn't really know anything about you, what would you tell them your fighting style is?
Well, everybody knows that I'm a grappler, and, obviously my fighting style, I'm jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I come from a wrestling-based school, and I have a very, very good jiu-jitsu coach. And, I like to do Muay Thai too, but, I'm all around. I like to say that I'm a very good athlete and that I pick up everything really fast. And, I might not have as much experience as some other girls, but I know that, being an athlete my whole life, that it's a lot easier to pick up on things.
What's your favorite part about the sport?
My favorite part is just really understanding yourself, because I don't know, when I was a little girl, I was the shyest girl in the whole school, and my dad, when I would to how to compete and stuff or whatever, ballet recital, he had to carry me out there. I couldn't even go out there by myself, and just the fact that I get in a cage in front of all these people, it's crazy. I never would have thought I would do that.
And on the flip side, what's your least favorite part about the sport?
My least favorite part, there's nothing that I dislike about the sport at all. I mean, obviously, if you get injured, that's the only possible thing that you could possibly not like.
Right. I'm very interested to hear you say that you're nothing in this sport, is really, really bad, because, a lot of people say the weight cutting is bad, and obviously you mentioned the injuries and stuff like that, but that's good to hear that nothing's bad in the sport. Anyways, I'm just curious, how did you get your nickname, the Panther?
You know what? I didn't pick it. I read a couple articles once about, saying that I creep up on my opponents. Like, I slowly creep up on them, and then I attack viciously or something like that. And then one fight, they announced me as Rachael the Panther Cummins, and I was like, what? And I was like, all right. I guess that's my name.
Right. Now, you train out of Rain Training Center, but you also have another gym that you work out at. You work out at Spider Muay Thai. I'm just curious, why work out at Spider Muay Thai? Obviously, there's a lot of great fighters at Rain Training Center. I'm just curious, why another gym? Why add another gym into the mix?
Well, at Spider Muay Thai, it's strictly only Muay Thai. So it's real traditional, and at Rain, it's, we're more grappling based at Rain. I mean, we're good all around for everything, but to me, it feels really good that it's so traditional. So we really focus on every single aspect of Muay Thai. I was to go to Thailand, So it's just, I don't know. I just really think it's good, and I really, really like my coach Frankie. I actually knew him before I started training there, so he, and he told me to come over there. And I don't know, it's just been really good ever since. So that's why.
Are there any other gyms, maybe, haven't been a permanent home for you or a long-term home for you, but are there any other gyms? I mean, there's a lot of gyms down in Southern California. Are there any other gyms that you've been to, getting some different looks, getting some different training since you've started, or have you basically just stuck with Spider and Rain?
I've only stuck with Spider and Rain. I would never, ever leave either one of them.
Right.
And Rain is where my base is, and Rain is my main, MMA gym, and they're the one that built me entirely from the very start. So, I have to thank them for, getting me as far as they've gotten me.
Now, I'm just curious, how big of a fan of MMA are you? Are you someone who, watches all the shows on TV? I mean, there's a plethora of MMA on TV nowadays. Are you someone who is very invested in the sport and watches everything they possibly can? Or are you someone who, like a lot of fighters, they only really watch their teammates? If their teammates are fighting, they'll watch it. Give us an idea, what would you say, are you a hardcore fan, casual fan, and, how big a fan of the sport are you?
I'm definitely a hardcore fan now. I watch as many of the Bellator fights that I can and UFC fights, and I always watch the Invicta. So, every time that those are on, I'll watch it. And I'll even watch when there's Muay Thai fights on, too.
Right. Just curious, who are some of the fighters that you enjoy watching?
Like for girls and guys? For both of them?
For both, yeah. Anybody.
Well, definitely my coach, Mark Munoz. I mean, he's just amazing, and just training with him and seeing how hard he works and actually watching him. I mean, he is just such an amazing athlete. And even Jake Ellenberger, he is another teammate of mine. And, I mean, really, it's not just my teammates. I really like his brothers, too.
Right.
I mean, they're just really interesting, and they're really fun to watch. I mean, there's so many really good fighters. It's really hard to say, but a lot of my teammates I love. I mean, we have got Uriah Hall, Tony Ferguson, Jake Ellenberger, Mark, and I mean, we have some really good talent at our gym.
How about on the women's side of things? Who are some girls that you like watching?
On the women's, I really I like Jessica's last fight, Jessica I. I mean, I've only seen one of her fights before that, and I would definitely say that, if I would like to fight like any girl, I would definitely pick more like her style, because she's just a really good athlete. And, I mean, I've always been partial to Miesha Tate. I like her style, too, because, she's she's worked hard, and she's, you know, she's pretty balanced all around. But yeah, I like this guy. She's really good.
Transitioning over to a sad story here, but you know, somebody who was a big part of your amateur career, Barry Meyer, he passed away. I believe it was early last week, maybe it was middle of last week. First, when you got the news, how shocked were you to find out about his death? And second, what exactly was your relationship with him? Was he a close friend, or was he just an acquaintance, promoter, you know, just somebody you fought for? You know, could you explain your relationship with him, and also how surprised were you to hear the news?
Yeah, when I found out, my parents told me, and the minute I found out, I just burst into tears. And, you know, with like a lot of promoters, you can't really say that, you know, you would burst into tears like that, because, you know, a lot of promoters you can't really get close to, and you know, to be honest, they're assholes.
Right.
And Barry was just one of a kind. He was the nicest man, nicest promoter that anyone could ask for. And to say that I was close to him, I could say that a lot of people that fought for him were close to him, because that's just the type of relationship that he would have with his fighters. And, you know, my parents got really close with him, too. And, you know, he would check up on me and tell me how proud he was of me. And he really, genuinely, really cared about every single fighter that fought for him. So I would say that, you know, not just me, but most people were really close to him. And I have to thank him for everything that he did for me. And, you know, I mean, he really helped me out and really got me started, and that was the base where I started, and yeah, I was really sad to hear that.
Yeah, he's a true pioneer. He doesn't get a lot of credit, but he, on the women's side of the things, he's really a true pioneer, because there's been so many great women who have fought under the Tough Enough banner throughout the years. So definitely he'll be missed, and you know, it's terrible news to hear. But just curious about your amateur career. You ended on a 2-fight losing streak. You had back-to-back losses to Courtney Casey to close out your amateur career. I'm just curious, why did you decide to go pro after coming off a couple losses? You know, why did you decide to transition to pro, coming off a loss? Why not go out after a win? You know, what was the thought process behind that?
You know, I ask myself, you know, why I do a lot of things. But sometimes I just do it.
Right.
Like, you know, I had the faith in myself, and I just believed that I could, and I was ready. And, well, the thing with Courtney Casey is when she was an amateur, she was better than most professionals. And, you know, a loss to her, you know, I mean, I was bummed. I felt like I could have had her, you know, the first fight, you know. Right. And, you know, I went all 3 rounds with her the second fight, and she's a really good opponent. And, I mean, I fought, in my amateur career, I fought some really good girls. I fought, you know, 2 girls that were so-so, but all the other girls were really good. Courtney Casey, Jenny Liu, Christy Lopez. You know, they all had a lot more experience than me, and I don't know, I just wanted to go pro, and I felt I could, and I was ready. I see. Now, Rachael, you mentioned injuries were you know, a thing that, you know, you brought up about the part of the sport that you didn't like, but what kind of injuries have you suffered during your career, and, you know, have any of them been serious at all? The worst injuries that I would ever have was, like, you know, involving my back or my neck. One time I hurt my back so bad that I couldn't walk for a week. It was my lower back, and, you know, I had my whole sciatic nerve on my right side was messed up, and you have to be real careful, because the thing with me is I would get these kind of injuries all the time when I first started, because I was so stubborn, and I'd go with these huge guys that were like over 200 pounds, and I'd go for arm bars, and, you know, the guys, you know, sometimes they're assholes, and they'd slam me. Right. And, you know, they'd slam me on my neck, so they don't want to get arm bars. And, you know, I was real stubborn, and I just didn't want to give up, and I really wanted to get him, so I learned to be careful and to kind of, you know, back away from that and just use more technique, and, you know, I've not gotten injuries like that anymore.
Just curious, what's the reaction you get when you tell people what you do for a living? You know, when you tell people you're a fighter, what kind of reaction do you get from people? Is it the reaction of, no way, you don't do that? You know, seriously, what do you really do? Or one of those reactions where, why? You know, why do you want to get punched in the face? Like, you know, what's the reaction you get when you tell people you're a fighter?
That's the exact reaction. They always say, really? No way. Like, no one ever believes I fight.
Right.
And then, you know, they're always like, why would you want to ruin your face?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? Well, to be honest, the girls don't hit like the guys do. So, you know, but still, you know, your face can still get a little messed up, but it's not the same as, like, getting hit by the Nogueras, you know?
Right.
But, you know, I've walked around with black eyes with my coaches, or like a guy that I've dated, and I've like gone to a bar with them, and they're like, why would you let him do that to you? I'm like, oh, no, I'm a fighter. No, he didn't hit me. And then they're like, what? And they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, no, seriously, like, he didn't hit me. So sometimes you gotta be careful if you're walking around with your boyfriend who is not a fighter at all, and then, you know, I have a black eye.
You bring up black eyes. It seems like every time I see a picture of you, you have a black eye in it. I don't know what it is. It's just I might be looking at the wrong pictures. I might be looking at pictures that were taken all around the same time. But it seems like every time I see a picture of you, you have a black eye. Is this something that you get a lot, or am I just seeing stuff?
Oh, no, it's probably just the picture that I just took it when I had a black eye. Like, recently I had a black eye, and then some other times. But no, I probably only have had, like, 3 black eyes, to be honest. I mean, I've gotten kicked in the face by accident for going for an armbar. You know, small little things. It's usually things that are kind of not from getting punched. It's something that's like in jiu-jitsu kind of thing. Like, I've been kneed in the face before the accident. You know, it's not usually from striking at all. It's usually from jiu-jitsu or wrestling.
Now, transitioning from your amateur career, you made your pro debut. It was originally supposed to be against Kristen Gatz. Just curious, what happened to her? Why didn't you fight her on for your pro debut? First, that part, and then the second part to that question is, how much notice did you have when she was replaced with Norma Center?
Well, you know what? I had 4 opponent changes. First I had this blonde girl, I don't even remember her name. She was from Sweden. That was my original opponent. And then it got switched to Christian Gatz. And then it got switched to this other girl who fought recently in XFC. And then they're like, you don't have an opponent at all. And I was like, you know, I was bummed, you know, and I stopped, you know, I remember I started eating cookies. I was, like, not even doing my water weight cut. And then, like, 2 days later, before weigh-ins, they're like, hey, we found you an opponent. And, you know, I had already sold tickets. And I was like, oh, man, should I take it? Should I not? And I was like, I already sold all these tickets, and I shouldn't have taken it because, you know, Norma Sanders wound up being a southpaw. She was a lefty. And I was originally supposed to fight a girl that was a right-hander. And, you know, I wasn't doing my water weight cut. I didn't even wind up making weight. I had a horrible weight cut. Even on the way there, we put on the heater. So the guy I was dating, we cranked up the heater, and I had my whole sauna suit up. So it took us about, like, an hour just to get to weigh-ins. Cranked it up. He was sweating his ass off with me in there. And I had my whole sauna suit on the whole time, trying to cut those last pounds, and I still didn't make weight. And it was just miserable for me, that very first fight. And, yeah, I mean, I have, like, nightmares from that fight.
Just curious, why was that fight 3 3-minute rounds? Why not 3 5s?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would have been cool, I guess it was. Sometimes it's good for the grappler, but, you know, in that fight, my legs were so shocked. Like, I almost finished, you know, an armbar on her the first time, and then I almost got her in a triangle, then, like, the second or third round, and I know that if I wasn't, my legs weren't so shocked, I know I could have finished it, but, you know, you need your legs for the armbar, and I wound up slipping. I remember when she slammed me, and I mean, yeah, I was bummed about that fight.
You mentioned you had a bunch of different opponents, and they kept falling out for whichever reason. Was this a first time that you've had this, where you've had all these opponent changes? Or I can imagine, as an amateur, you probably had a lot of opponent changes. Was this the first major one where you had all these different names being thrown at you, or had it happened before?
The only time I've ever had an opponent change was one time in my amateur career, but besides that, I've never. I was lucky to never have an opponent fall out, and it was only one time in my amateur career. But I had at least knew 2 weeks in advance, and not just 2 days,
Right.
And knowing that, I had a southpaw, I was already only a grappler. I mean, not only, but I was mainly a grappler, and then I get switched to a girl that's a lefty, so, and I have a horrible weight cut, so, I'm really bummed. I wish I could actually fight her again.
Right. Now, I haven't been able to find any footage on this fight, but what I've heard about the fight, a lot of people thought that you should have got the decision. Some people thought that that was a very close fight, and maybe the judges got it wrong. It should have went to you. Do you feel that you won the fight? Do you think that you should have got the judges' decision?
Yes. Obviously it could have gone either way, but, I think that if you were to see you take me, and a lot of people would say that too, but I was also fighting at a place that was mostly boxing judge. They were like all boxing judges, so I don't really even know if they knew the whole grappling game, but, she was constantly, basically, if you watched the fight, you could see that the fight basically went however I wanted it to go. So if I wanted to go on the ground, if I wanted to stay up, I pretty much controlled the whole fight. I just couldn't quite finish. And she had to keep defending, and a lot of people think I fought, but, it happens.
Right. Now, your second pro fight was against, I believe, Joe Stevenson's wife. Is that who was it against?
Yes.
Yeah. And you won that fight by second-round submission. How pleased were you with your performance in that one?
Oh, I was very pleased. It went just like we wanted it to. I got on top of her, and I wish it was 5 minutes because I could have finished her. It was only 3 minutes, so the time ran out when I was on top. I was trying to get to a good position to submit her, actually. Then the time ran out, and then, the second round, my coaches, told me, hey, kick her in the face. If she takes you down, armbar her right away, and that's what happened, and it went perfectly, and I was so happy to win my first pro fight. It was great because it was my professional fight, and the feelings of winning your professional fight is completely different than an amateur,
And how did it feel to get a win and fight in front of a hometown crowd? Because this was the first time that you fought very close to home. How did that feel?
I felt good. All my friends and family were there. My mom was crying, and it was such a great feeling. I had a bunch of my friends there, and they're so happy. A lot of them have never seen me fight live, so it was great. Usually I would just fight in Vegas, so I'd only have a couple friends that would be able to go.
Now, I saw a party poster, I can't remember, I think it was on Facebook or somewhere, and they were talking about a party that was happening. I believe that fight happened either a Friday or Saturday, I can't remember, and then this party was supposed to take place on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and the tagline for the party was something about come celebrate Rachael Cummins' victory, however many days after. She's still excited, she's still celebrating her win this past weekend, even though it had been a couple days. Was that something where it was just kind of like a neat tagline to kind of get people interested in coming to whatever club this was at, or was this something where you were still excited about it? It took you a while to cool down from the excitement and the emotions of winning your first pro fight. Could you explain that?
Oh, well, yeah, I was still celebrating. I still had some friends, coming down, but I was also getting paid to show up there.
I see.
So, that kind of helps, and, I was like, why not bring all my friends, to come there, and that's when we celebrated it for that second time.
Right, I see. Because I thought there were so many things that were, bouncing around in my head. I thought maybe, something happened where you were injured and couldn't have an after party that night. So many things were just going inside out. Yeah.
No, just celebrating, just being a big fan. I'm like, gosh, no, just kidding.
So it was a good time that night?
Yeah, and that was a good time. No, I think that night was just trying to get, some people to come over there, and, I just invited my friends. So that one was just a different one.
I see. There's been a lot of rumors. There's been a lot of reports. It's calmed down a long time because, everyone knows who this guy's dating now, but War Machine. There was a rumor a long time ago that you were dating him. Were you ever dating War Machine? Was this true?
Yes, I was.
And how long did it last?
Probably about 3 months.
Okay. And I mean, not that it's any of my business, but how did it end? Because we didn't really get word of that it was over, because when we found out that War Machine was dating Christy Mack, it was just a surprise because he had just won his fight in Bellator. I can't remember who he fought, but they did a crowd scan. They're like, oh, there's War Machine's girlfriend. And then I look in the crowd, and it's not you, it's Christy Mack. So how did it end?
Well, no, we're still friends. He's a really good guy, right. Actually, believe it or not. He's a really good person. But we just have, I don't know, we just had different kind of, outlooks type of, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but I mean, we ended it on a good note, and we're still friends, and I'm really happy, he was doing good in Bellator, and, he's behaving and
right.
not getting in trouble. Yeah, but I mean, I think that they make a better couple, right. And, I don't know. I think he's a really good person, and, he always was really nice to me. He never did anything bad, and I just think that we just, we're just a little bit different, and, I mean, it was fun while it lasted.
Now, was War Machine, I mean, I believe he trains at Range Training Center. Was he like the only guy who came up to you? Is that how he was able to land you? Was he like, not shy about coming up and asking you? Or was it, something else where he kind of, just kind of stalked you for a while? Like, how did he approach you? I'm just curious.
No, he doesn't train at Range Training Center. He trains at Undisputed in San Diego.
Okay.
No, actually, I met him at Bellator fights.
Oh, I
was with my manager, and she knew him, and I just met him there, and then, he started bugging me on Twitter after, and then we just were friends first, and he wound up being really nice, and he had a good personality, and he was cool. He wasn't as crazy as everyone thought, so, I mean, a lot of people think he's really crazy, but he's really not that crazy. So, I mean, I don't know.
Wasn't he still married? Didn't he have, like, his wife was deported or something? Wasn't that going on?
I believe that when he went, I think the story was he went to jail for, when he got in that last fight, or right. When, they finally told him that he had to go, and she couldn't live here, I guess, so she had to get deported. So basically they couldn't possibly see each other because when he got out, he can't leave the country, and then she couldn't come here. So, I mean, I don't know. That's the story that I heard.
I see. Are you single now?
Oh, yeah, I'm very single. I've been single for a while because I think it's a lot better to focus. I've always been in a relationship. I've always been in long relationships, and, I just feel like I could focus and have my own schedule, and, guys always, they always try to get real controlling, you can't do this, that, and I just, I'm, living by myself, and I right by the gym, and I go there and I train every morning, and then I go and I train at night, and I just have my schedule, and I have all my friends and my family behind me, and I don't really think I need a guy to make me happy. So right. I'm really happiest right now being single.
Do you get hit on at the gym a lot?
Of course, there's been times.
Is it?
You gotta just. Your teammates as friends. You gotta be careful of that. Is
it like a serious, or is it kind of like everyone knows that everyone's joking with each other? Is it for real?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's real, but then it's kind of joking. So, guys will be guys. It's just normal, when you're one of the only girls at the gym and little spandex, and what do you expect?
Any of the well-known guys, like is War Machine like the biggest name that you've been involved with, or has there been other guys who have went out on dates with you or have asked and maybe you turned them down? I don't know. Anybody?
Oh no! Before that, I was just dating a normal guy that didn't fight, and he was just a normal, regular guy that had his own little business, and dated him for a while. So yeah, I didn't date anyone else from the gym or anyone over there.
This guy was before War Machine or after? I missed that.
That was before him.
Okay.
That was before him.
Uh-huh.
He was just a normal, but he didn't really understand, the whole how much I have to train and all that stuff. So it was hard to have him kind of understand what I went through,
And also, was War Machine the last time you've been dating, or you've been dating? You said you're single. Are you dating but just not serious with anybody, or are you just doing your training, focusing on this camp and this fight?
I'm just focusing on this camp. I'm not dating, or I haven't been hanging out with anyone like that. I just hang out with my friends from the gym and my coaches, and just everyone that's real positive, and trying to stay away from any of my friends that want to party or do anything like that. I just kind of try to stay around my gym friends while I'm getting ready for my fight.
I see. Well, that concludes our Howard Stern portion of this interview. Let's move on. Hobbies. Outside of fighting, what are some of your hobbies?
Outside of well, I like to play volleyball. I've played it for a long time, but I also coach at high school for boys. I coach the soft team at school, near my gym. So, I guess that would be my other hobby.
And is that the only other job you have? Like, obviously you have this pro fighter thing, and then the coaching. Do you work another job, or does all that other stuff just kind of take up most of your time, and you don't have another job?
Well, I used to be a teacher. I used to be a preschool teacher for like 4 years. I used to have my own class with the 2 and 3 year olds, and then I started training, and it's obviously was a full-time job, and now I'm just lucky to have a really, really good sponsor for HereTVZone.com. They pretty much just, thank God for them, that they really help me where I'm able to train full-time and not worry about anything, and they just out with whatever I need, and I'm able to just coach, that volleyball when the season comes, and I live by myself in a nice place, and everything's good.
Modeling-wise, are you still doing some modeling work, or has that kind of been put on the back burner?
Well, that was put, on the back burner. I've always been more into sports anyways. People would always try to get me to do that, but I would really like to get into some fitness stuff. Eventually, it's kind of hard to kind of do both because, I like to compete so often. My fights, so I have to, if I don't compete, within like 3 months, then I'm like, I'm so crazy.
If you weren't a fighter, would you be doing the teaching thing? Obviously, you had a job there. Would that be what your focus would be in, or the modeling thing? Because I gotta assume, you have the body type for a model. You're tall, long arms, long legs, great body. You're obviously in very good shape because of all the training you do. Would it be more along the lines of the modeling, or would you be leaning towards the teaching side of things if you weren't a mixed martial artist?
Probably I would, because I've just always been into health and fitness. I would probably go towards fitness competitions and fitness modeling and all that stuff. I would for sure be into that, and I still want to do some of that. And after MMA, I really want to get involved in that. And I just like being really fit and healthy. And I would definitely get into that for sure.
Just curious, the Ultimate Fighter is going on right now. That's the women's season. Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate, the coaches. A, are you watching? And B, if you are, what do you think about the season so far?
Well, obviously, Ronda looks a little crazy on there, and
right.
I think everyone's kind of leaning towards Misha, but then again, you don't really know what really goes on and what they show. Like what they're actually showing. Sometimes they just might show Ronda's bad parts, which I have heard that they can't really show what really goes on, and that happens with any kind of show like that. So, to be honest, you don't really know. You can't really pick either side. I like both of them. I think the show's great, though, and the girls are they're more interesting than guys right now this season, I think.
I see. Now, did you try out at all for the Ultimate Fighter? Because I don't remember seeing your name on the list of people who tried out. Did you not try out because of the, 3 pro fights that, like, kind of limit you had to have in pro experience, or was it just because it's a 135 season?
Yeah, I heard that you're supposed to have, like, a certain amount of fights and then have them, or at least, like, one professional win, and I lost my pro debut, so I don't believe I could have tried out for it. But I actually I hung out with Misha in Vegas, and she was really cool, really nice, and she was like, "Why didn't you try out for it? If you would have tried out for it, you would have for sure made it." And I was like, "Really?" Like, I was all bummed, but then I told her that I would have, I didn't have I didn't win that first fight, and so she's like, "Oh yeah, maybe you couldn't." But that would have been amazing. I would have loved it.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't do 16 women, because there were some women that were in the elimination fight that I thought would have been great on the show. Obviously, Tara LaRosa, been around the sport forever, and Colleen Schneider.
I heard one day.
Yeah, Colleen Schneider, yeah. I just... we're on the same wavelength there. So now let's transition to October 25th. You're going to be taking on Michelle Gutierrez at Bama USA, Bad Beat 11. What are your thoughts about her as an opponent?
I know she's a good boxer, and she has quick hands, but I just feel that I'm the better athlete, and that I'm going to be more dangerous all around. And, I'm fully prepared for this fight. I had a really, really good training camp. This is my best training camp I've had so far. And, I know that she's got more experience, and she's been around in the game for a lot longer than I have. I knew of her before I even started training jiu-jitsu. And, I'm just really happy to fight her. Actually, I'm really excited for this fight. It's the most excited I've ever been for any fight.
Game plan-wise, obviously, without revealing too much, but I think a lot of people feel that, your game plan is to get her to the ground and submit her, and her game plan is to keep the fight standing and look for a knockout. Is that how you feel going into this fight? The game plans are kind of going to be? Do you agree with what the people think?
Well, I'm going to tell you this, that she's going to have a real hard time finishing me.
Right.
So, that might be what people are thinking, but I'm just going to go with whatever comes, because, I just feel like I'm a lot more athletic than she is naturally, and I just, whatever happens, and however way I want it to go is I feel like is how it's going to go.
I believe back in April, I think it was, or maybe it was May, I was talking with Michelle Gutierrez, and I was asking her about, who are some people that she would like to fight, because this was a time where she had been out for a year. She hadn't fought in a while. She had some injuries and some other stuff going on, and was inactive. So I asked her who are some people that she wanted to fight, and your name was number one on the list. It wasn't a disrespectful call, like, oh, I'm way better than her, I can beat her, yada, 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 all that stuff. But it was kind of just, she liked your style, and she's like, oh, she's a good-looking girl. She'll be able to sell tickets, put us on a poster together. It'll be a good promotion. Just she just thought it was going to be a good fight, and obviously you've signed on for this fight, so you want this fight. But was this a fight that you were pursuing? Was this a fight where you thought that, hey, it would be a good fight between me and Michelle, and somebody needs to put this on?
I think we were both pursuing it. We were both talking about it. I pursued it when she was actually in Bellator, and she didn't have an opponent to fight, and of course I wanted to fight for Bellator. So I was like, I'll fight her. And my manager actually brought it up, and then we talked about it, and we were real friendly and nice about it, and we just were we're nice, and we're like, we want to fight each other. And, there's no hard feelings, and we don't dislike each other at all. I mean, I have nice things to say about her, and she's had nice things to say about me, but, when the cage closes, I'm going to be a completely different person.
Yep. Now, who's going to be in your corner for this fight? Because obviously your coach, Mark Munoz, he's going to be fighting this weekend. He's fighting in England against Lyoto Machida. So who's going to be in your corner for this fight?
Well, my jiu-jitsu coach, Jason Manley, he has been he'll be my main corner. I mean, he's been, my main every day. Like, he's been kicking my ass. I mean, one day I came to practice. It was a sparring day for MMA sparring, and I was throwing up in the morning. And he made me finish 5-minute rounds, and every single round I kept wanting to throw up. I was just nauseous. Like, I had ate something really bad, and I just remember I went to throw up in the bathroom, and he was dragging me out, and he's like, "No, you have to finish these rounds. If you have to throw up, you have to throw up here." And he just was pushing me. At the time, I hated him. I was like, "I hate you," but I finished all 5-minute rounds, and he's like, "If you feel like this in your fight, when it comes to the fight night, at least you know that you'll be able to finish all the rounds." And he just really pushed me. But he's a Cesar Gracie black belt, so he's very, very good jiu-jitsu. And then I have Frankie Chavez, my Muay Thai coach, and then Danny Perez. He was a really good boxer, and he's my boxing coach, so he'll be in my corner also. And then one of my main training partners, Daniela, she'll be in there too.
Will your dad be cornering you for this fight?
No. My dad, they'll just be in the audience. He's cornered me for one of my amateur fights,
right?
Like my one that I took on my 5 days notice.
Right.
With him and my other coach, but yeah, no, my dad, they just stay there for they're just in the audience.
Last fight was really close. It was basically in your backyard. I'm not from the area or anything, so I don't really know the distance from where the venue is to where you live. But is it close by? Is it kind of going to be the same thing?
Yeah, it's probably 30 minutes away, and I know all the promoters, and I've already fought in that cage for my first amateur fight, and I wasn't nervous at all. It was weird. My first amateur, I wasn't nervous one bit. That was the fight that I was least nervous for, and that fight I was a little animal actually when I got in there. I'm actually really excited.
Is there more excitement this time around fighting for Bama USA, because this is the first pro women's fight they've ever put on? Is there a little bit more excitement being the first?
Yeah, I think that it's first for anything is always exciting. Right. It's more publicity because you're the first of it, and I don't know. I think it's be good. Everyone there, they all know MMA. When I fought my last pro fight, it was in a boxing ring, so a lot of the people in the crowd there are more partial to boxing. And when I armbarred the girl, a couple of the people were like, "Oh, so what was it called that you did?" And I'm like, "It's an armbar," So at least, the crowd this time, they'll all know, more of the MMA side. So it's way better. And plus it's a cage, which is, it's always more partial to, a grappler anyways. But you know what? I've been working my striking so much for this fight, so it could go either way. I'm not saying it's going to go anyway.
Rachael, last question, a two-part one. First part of the question, what are your short-term goals in the sport? And second, what are your long-term goals in the sport?
My short-term... I want to fight, my goal is to fight in the UFC, when they open the 125 pound. I would love to fight in there, and I'm hoping that fighting will lead to other things and other opportunities and bigger ones, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Rachael, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yes, I want to thank HereTVZone.com. It's an application, so people actually, if they download it on their phone, if they go into any restaurant with a bunch of TVs on and they want to listen to a certain TV and they download this application, they can hear whatever TV they want at their table. So really? It's called HereTVZone.com. And then I want to thank Tussle, and what are my other sponsors? OC Fight Talk. Yeah, OC Fight Talk, which I'm here right now.
Right.
I was getting stretched by, and probably not even getting stretched that good because I'm not paying attention. But, yeah, OC Fight Dogs, they've been taking care of me, this whole time. And, every time I have an injury or something, they are always prepared to help me out. And, yeah, I believe that's it.
Right. Rachel, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck October 25th at Bama USA Bad Beat 11 against Michelle Gutierrez.
Okay, thank you.